Aloha mai kākou. My name is Chase Bridges. I'm a senior at Kamehameha School's Hawaii campus, and my senior legacy project is the history and evolution of Tahitian drumming. When I was 6 years old, that was the first time I ever laid hands on a Tahitian drum. The Polynesian culture has always been a part of my life ever since I was born. I was fortunate to learn my first beat, which is Pohai, by Uncle Dean Ka'ahulu. He gifted me this toere when I was 6 years old in 2009. One of my biggest influencers, other than Uncle Dean, was my dad, Patrick Villawan. He taught me everything there is to know about Tahitian drumming, and everything I know now. Every ike that I have about this culture is from him, as well as my mom, Kalei Bridges. Both of them learned from Uncle Kirava Maru from Tahiti. In 2012, my family created Kia Ahi, which is a Tahitian group based out of Waimea. From that group, I was able to compete, learn from new mentors, perform professionally, as well as travel. I was fortunate to travel to Tahiti, learn from Uncle Iriki myself, as well as Uncle Ki, and meet him in person. In my project, I was blessed to have Auntie Hinatea, Colombani, Uncle Mervyn, Lilo, as well as Auntie Tiana, Liufau. Auntie Hinatea was so kind to cover the history portion of my project, Uncle Mervyn, the modern day drums of my project, as well as Auntie Tiana, the evolution of Tahitian drumming. The goal of my project is to teach others about the history and evolution of Tahitian drumming, learn stories and the background of ancient practices as how it evolves to where it is now. I also wanted to teach others about how this art is practiced worldwide. Finally, I want to learn myself to how this practice and this art has evolved over time.
Yarana, my name is Hinatea Colombani. I am a Tahitian dance teacher and also a Tahitian culture teacher. I found the cultural center Arioi based in the island of Tahiti. For me, sharing the culture is really important because our culture was forbidden since 200 years ago. And now to share and to be online is really important. Also sharing the history about the drums, about the upa upa is really important for me. At the Cultural Center, you can learn many activities, you can learn many aspects of the Tahitian Polynesian culture, the dance, the upa upa, so the music, and also the orero, the Reo Tahiti, the language, or making your own instruments. It's really important for us to teach and to share our student and community to have a full impact on them so they will learn all the aspects of the Polynesian culture. But also now we are online, so we have an e-learning Polynesian culture. It's a monthly membership subscription, and with this subscription you will have every week a link with a video and translate in English, Japanese, and also Spanish. So for us is to spread the Polynesian culture and to give the access to it. So to come back on our main theme, the upa upa, the drums history, not only the drums, because we have different type of instruments in ancient time. When I say ancient time, it's about the 18th century. So here you have an illustration of tupaya. Tupaya is an arioi. The Arioi in ancient time, they were in charge of the transmission. They were expert in certain domains, but they were in charge of the transmission of the Polynesian, the Tahitian culture. And Tupaya was a navigator like a really excellent navigator. And in this draw, Tupaya illustrated some Arioi. So like I said, the Arioi, they were in charge of the transmission of the culture. But they were also in charge of the different ceremonies on and rituals on Mare. And when he drew those Arioi, you have not the to'eri like we know nowadays, but you have different instruments like the pahu, we call it tambour. It's the drum made with wood trunk and then a shark skin on it, and it really gives the sound. So it's this. In the history of the instrument, you have to divide the different kind of pahu, because you had the pahu nui. It's the drum, the pahu linked to the chief. So when he wants to play or also to give an announcement. Then you have the pahu upa upa, is those one that were played for the ceremony. Yeah, the ceremony, but also more the festivity. The pahu nui is really for the ceremony, is linked to the ceremony of the Arioi and all of that. And then you have the pahu to'eri. So what is important to know here, the to'eri is not the drum that we know nowadays, is more an evolution like the pate in Cook Island. But the pahu to'eri was used in ancient time to announce the sacrifice. The sacrifice was not just to sacrifice someone, but the sacrificed people, they were the one who didn't follow the rules of the chief. So the pahu to'eri was used for that. And here you have a vivo, and the vivo is the bamboo nasal flute, and it is played with the nose. And what is really important for me, this instrument is the most important too, because you play with the nose and you play with the breath. It's the essence of the human. So I really love the song of the video. It really calms you. So some musicians say that this instrument helps them to travel for the spirit. Also, when you look again at the pahu, you can see some musicians playing up the pahu because they were really high, and some of them playing on their knees. And this we can assimilate this pahu to the fa'atete that we will have in days in the future. So now we are in the middle of the 19th century. We have the promulgation of the Pomare Code. So the dynasty Pomare decide to forbid the culture, not only the real Tahiti, but the practice of the culture. And for that also the drum. And because of this code, people cannot play anymore, people cannot lead the ceremonies or even some rituals. After about 40 years after, we have the protectorat under the French state, and the Brua commandant decided to make the culture alive. So for that, the population will accept more the state of France. And for that, he accepts the Polynesian, the Tahitian people to play and also to dance. So at this moment, the Tahitian look at the military parade and they saw this drum play with two sticks, and so they adapt this drum to their practice. So with that, we have an evolution of the drum. We have an evolution too of the dance, because you can play faster with two sticks. And also the to'eri, then we have an influence with the Rarotonga Islands, and they play the pate, and they play with two sticks, the drum, the toere, and they apply here in Tahiti to play with this toere. But to remind you, so the pahu toere is totally different, and now we have a huge evolution of the drums with the dance, because the drums, again, I want to say that the upa upa, the music, is the heart of the different groups that we have nowadays. So without the musicians, the dancer cannot dance. Without the music, we cannot dance. And it's really important to share this history, and also to share the history of the ancient instruments. So Mauruuru and Te Aroha Yarei.
Yorana, my name is Mervyn, Lilo, leader and Ra'atira for the group Mauruuru. We'd like to share a little about Tahitian drum.
These are the three basic drums used in Tahitian drumming. This is the tariparau, or the pahu. It is a bass drum, and it keeps the tempo of the drumming. It is a skin instrument and is played with the mallet. This is the fatete. It is played with a variety of rhythmic patterns to advance the sound of the drumming. It is also a skin instrument and is played with two sticks. This is the toere. It is a lead drum and is the heartbeat of the drumming. It is a wooden instrument and can be made of many different wood, and it is played with a wooden stick. Altogether, these drums create different beats or pehe. Traditional pehe were played in unison, but as time went on, different parts were created to produce a more vibrant sound. The three main parts are mua, ropu, and muri. This is mua. This is ropu. And this is muri. Altogether, the three basic beats, pahai, pa'ea, and toma, will be played. Beating drums complement the Ori Tahiti or Tahitian dance. The basic steps are the wharapu for the women and po'oti for the men. The dances are choreographed to the pehe.
Aloha. Yaura no oto o Tiana Nonosina Liufau to o I oa no te whenua marite. E ratira vau te pupu ori Nonosina. Te noho neo I Anaheim, California. Aloha everyone, my name is Tiana Nonosina Liufau. I am based here in Anaheim, California, and I'm the creative director of Nonosina Polynesia, which is a Polynesian music and dance group. I am the teacher that teaches all of the classes for the Wahine female and Tane the males for dance, and also for all the drumming and music here as well. My grandmother started this group in 1965. She actually comes from Valinu, Samoa, and then made her way over to Laie Oahu, and then set home base or her roots here in Orange County, California. Wa pi'ihia te i'oa Nonosina te aura e manu ua ua ya. E pēa huru ma pēa ma Tahiti te orara a oti e nei pupu ori. My grandmother named this dance group Nonosina, and this year in 2020 we actually celebrate 55 years. This was founded by my grandmother, handed down to my mother Ricky Liufau, to my brother Mervyn Liufau, and then to myself. So we are a 55-year legacy of culture keepers through the medium of music and dance. We are simply instruments of the Polynesian Triangle, and for me, I specialize in Ori Tahiti, Tahitian dance and music as well. What inspired me to be a teacher of culture through the medium of music and dance of Polynesia was being surrounded by the music, the songs, the legends, the tales, the arts, the Polynesian arts, performing arts, I guess you could say. I do feel that it is innate for us Polynesians to be storytellers, to gravitate towards music and to dance, because it's such a big part of who we are. It's a part of our DNA. And so weaving these stories together is what really keeps us grounded and reminded of who we are, no matter where our feet may touch. My feet is on the soil of the indigenous, the Native American lands, but because we are such great storytellers and we have an amazing way to keep these stories with music and with dance, I never forget who I am or where I come from. I'm inspired by the ways of my ancestors and their relation with what we call music and dance. In the ancient times, it was life. It was the way we communicated. So with Tahitian drumming specifically, we have evolved from our original form. This started everything. This started ceremony, it started cultural affairs, the vibration of the drums would go out into the universe, up into the upper stratosphere, and it would really connect us to our ancestors, or open up these portals. Just like the shape of the pouch, it would open up, imagine, it opens up these portals and we are reunited with our ancestors, or we are calling upon our ancestors. We are summoning our gods and our goddesses. It really was started from the drum. It's not your everyday vernacular that you just speak and then it becomes a ceremony or protocol. I truly believe that the drums in all indigenous and barefoot culture, the skin drums is what really started the communication to the divine. With that being said, we are then really influenced and even inspired by a lot of the other drums from Europe, or like the Americas. So we then kind of observe these instruments or their musical format, and then we're able to really put it into a Polynesian lens, into a Polynesian way of listening and therefore creating. It's super dope with Polynesians is we're able to see something and kind of make it Polynesian. So the traditional elements, we have the pautpa'i and we have the vivo. The vivo, which we have throughout most of Polynesia, is the nose flute that we play through the breath of our nose. This is the most traditional right here, vivo, pautpa'i. And then our ofe or our ihara, the bamboo. And then man's contribution to the orchestra would be our voice, our chanting, our singing. But with the vivo, vivo, this is a beautiful instrument that accompanies the pautpa'i. And when the outsiders came in, this is one of the most recorded duets of the Tahitian orchestra that was sketched or even noted. Ironically, outside of Polynesia, in my opinion, is not as celebrated. A lot of people tend to gravitate towards to'ere, or the wooden log drums from our native woods, but in all honesty, like this pautpa'i, this vivo, and then our bamboo is our most traditional instruments. As I feel like it gets far removed from the motherland, then it now becomes almost like people thinking more moving forward avant-garde. So sometimes we forget about the roots. It's the vivo and the pautpa'i. Now we have the to'ere that's very celebrated, which in traditional times wasn't really danced to, but a lot of times it was used to signify certain events and protocol that would happen on the mara, or in Hawaii you say the heiau. It becomes a little bit more popular as time goes on, and right now it's really popular. So we have the different parts in the to'ere called oro. So oro is when you basically have a very polyphonic sound where you have all the different parts that come together and we fit all the missing pieces. Yeah, or your parts that are woven together like that of a heiupo'o or a lei, it fits perfectly, and then it creates a very full sound that really drives the dancers and is awesome to hear. It sounds like thunder to the human ear. The melody, the arta'i or the tamo that holds the melody, like when you sing, and then you have all the layers of all the different parts called oro. Oftentimes oro is such a natural high for us drummers, because when you can click, whether it's you and another drummer or like honestly like 12 other drummers, if you know your part very well and you click with that person, it's like, I can't even explain the feeling as a drummer. Oftentimes though, we get carried away with oro because it is evolved so much, Tahitian drumming, that it becomes actually hard to hear or to recognize the melody, and also for the dancers it's hard to dance to because then it just sounds like a machine gun. It just sounds like, and sometimes you lose the melody, which is simply so there is that give and that take. You gotta find the balance or the harmony, but it's a beautiful thing that is celebrated oro in Tahitian drumming because it is so technical now. My thoughts on oro: I love to really jam and click with other drummers with oro, but I don't like losing the melody, so it can't overtake the Tahitian drumming. The significance of the music or the drums in storytelling is huge. It is the heartbeat. It is the common denominator throughout the whole storyline. Then you add on a bunch of layers and it's like cooking. You add in little ingredients to make it, to spice it up. and then you're able to create your dance, and that sets the tone for your movement, for your storytelling. It's a lot easier to memorize all the different winds and then all the different moon phases and the constellations when you have a rhythm you can kind of follow, yeah, as opposed just saying it without a rhythm. Therefore, it becomes a chant, it becomes a song. And then naturally, you create hand movements to remember all these different tales or your genealogy or how the world came to be or our heroes or our great chiefs. Our life is storytelling. We are able to tell stories about our life and what life was, what life is, what life could be, with the heartbeat of the drums. The story starts here, and then our bodies become the words. Storytelling in the art of ote'a. Oftentimes we have, just like in Hawaii, we have awana, but in Tahiti we have aparima. Aparima is the storytelling typically accompanied by ukulele, guitars, and our harmonies with our singers. The beautiful part about that is the poetry is literally written and recited and sung. That is amazing because you celebrate language and you are always reminded what the story is because you're literally reciting it. With ote'a, it is a formatted dance that's typically accompanied by drums. A lot of times you might see people that just do an ote'a. It's a bunch of different moves and technique, but we can't strip away the poetry and the tumpro, or the theme, the story you are telling with ote'a. We can't take that away. Just because it's drum heavy, we cannot forget we're still telling a story. So oftentimes for me, I still write a text for an ote'a, even if we don't recite it. The reason why the words are removed from an ote'a is because the drums are now the mouthpiece of the story. The drums tell the story, and then your body is used as a detail to enhance that story, because it drives home that we are storytellers, yeah? And you're not just getting away with making a funky beat and funky moves, yeah? That's great to warm up and for stamina. But ultimately, what are we doing? We are telling stories. This piece I'm going to share with you is called Na Te Fetu. Na Te Fetu is a chant that we celebrate here at Nonosina that in a Polynesian way, we always identify ourselves. With this chant, we say Na Te Fetu Anapa Napa Ite Rai Mateata. Ite va'a o nonosina, ite per iho. This chant, you can just say it like I did, but when you put drums to it, it brings on a whole other life form. It's saying we are guided by the stars in the cloudless sky. You know, the cloudless sky is so that the human eye, we can see our constellations, our stars. Ite va'a o nonosina. We are the va'a, or the canoe, called Nonosina. That is traveling to new horizons. And so you could say it like that, or you can Na te fetu anapa napa ite rai mate ata arata ite va'a o nonosina ite pera iho. I recited the chant, but then when you add a beat to it, oh man, now you entered a whole different realm, right? So to me, in that order: story, yeah, your poetry, your text, beat, dance. To me, they coexist, just like all the different elements that we have in Tahitian drumming. This ote'a I'm going to share with you is a very short one, but it is an important one because I always tell my dancers it's identifying who we are and what our intention is. We are Nonosina. We're led by not only the stars, but the teachings of our ancestors to push forward. So knowing who you are, where you come from, you are able to be led to new horizons. I hope you enjoy this piece with my vahine and my tane, or my dancers, as they demonstrate for you an ote'a that was created: text, music, dance. I want you to take away from this interview is simply that I am merely an instrument to tell stories or to be a storyteller like my ancestors, of my ancestors, about my ancestors, for my ancestors, so that I can become a great ancestor. I feel forever indebted to the Polynesian culture through the medium of music and dance. I never feel that I am owed anything. I feel like it has molded me into who I am, and I really feel this is my calling. My intention is pure, and I will always lead with culture first, and I will rely on the treasures that my ancestors have left for me, as I hope you, whether you're Polynesian or not, you really find those treasures that your ancestors left for you, and tell your story. Tell the stories of your ancestors, and be a great ancestor. Fa'ataite le lava, mahalo nui, Mauruuru.
In conclusion, I learned that the pahu toere was used for sacrificial reasons. The vivo as well as the pahu were used mainly in ancient times. We learned the instruments, the fa'atete, the pahu, as well as the toere. We learned 3 new basic beats: the pahai, pael, and toma. Finally, we learned from Auntie Tiana the evolution and how it has evolved over time, coming from traditional to oro oro. I hope you enjoyed my project as much as I did. Mahalo for the support, and take care.